Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you one clip to watch. It's from Tucker Carlson. Of course, I will stop it intermittently to make the points I want to make. It is about the inevitable result in regards to the Sussman case in DC, the DC swamp. He was always going to be found not guilty, even though he is guilty. We know that, you know that, I know that. We have one clip that goes over just how interconnected all of these people are. The people who will wax lyrical to you about justice and equity and equality and all this stuff. Yet when it comes to them, it never seems to get applied, does it? So we'll jump into the clip now. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. I mean, I should imagine you can guess for yourself that the DC swamp is corrupted. You know that, I know that. But when I watched this clip earlier, it took my breath away just how deep it goes. So we'll get into that now. If you haven't yet though, please like the video, subscribe to the Hoggcast, hit the notification bell and share the video around. Also have a membership scheme which you can join. There's a join button next to the sub button. I have 8 beautiful members who honour and humble me that they support the Hoggcast in this quiet little corner of the internet, because we are shadow banned and deboosted, because we are conservative commentators. Okay, let's go.
The jury today, comprised of several Hillary Clinton donors, acquitted a lawyer called Michael Sussman of lying to the FBI. Now, who's Michael Sussman? Sussman is a former partner at the law firm Perkins Coie, the biggest Democratic firm, the firm that represented Hillary Clinton's campaign. And in that capacity at Perkins Coie, Sussman laundered false information about the Trump campaign to the FBI. So a pretty tight relationship between Sussman and the FBI. We're learning tonight much more about the connection between the FBI and Sussman's former law firm, Perkins Coie. Congressman Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan have just received a letter from Perkins Coie's attorneys. This show can report exclusively that in that letter, Perkins Coie admits the FBI has maintained a, quote, secure work environment within Perkins Coie offices for more than a decade, going back to 2012. What? According to the letter, quote, Perkins Coie is responsible to the FBI for maintaining the secure work environment. That workspace, whatever it is still in operation today.
Right, exactly. Don't you love how these, you often get this with globalists, with especially governments, politicians, and just the whole kind of corrupted civil service. They love to use, they love to use word salads to mask true intentions. Like, for example, here, the secure work environment, the SWE. What does that mean? And what does it mean? Why do you need a decade-long relationship with an attorney's office linked to the Clintons and the Bidens and the Democrat DC machine? And what is a secure working environment? Why is the FBI there? For what reason? Right? These are all perfectly legitimate questions that people want answers to, right? And it gets worse. Wait until you see how interconnected the jury members are, or were in this case. The judge, just...
Ever heard of anything like this? No one we spoke to has. Matt Gaetz is the man who found this. He's, of course, member of Congress from the state of Florida. He joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on. This is bizarre. Tell us what it is and what you think it means.
We got a report from a whistleblower that we confirmed through multiple admissions, including this letter, showing that the Democrat Party's law firm, the law firm that received $42 million from the Democratic Party, has this co-located workspace that they operate in concert with the FBI. Why in the world would that be the case? Why?
Right, so this is what I mean. It just goes to show you how corrupted the FBI has become, right? And my opinion on that is changing radically, because I remember, I think it was quite to the end of Trump's presidency, and there's that guy, he's English as well, an American loving Englishman, Steve Hilton. I'm sure you've seen him on Fox News, Steve Hilton. And he had Sarah Sanders on and another guest. I can't remember who the other guest was. And it was about FBI corruption. And this is way before all of this, right? And Steve Hilton then said that the FBI should be disbanded. And I, along with the guests on the panel, Sarah Sanders and the other one, said, I don't know about disbanding the FBI. I think that's a step too far. And I agreed at the time when I was watching it. I thought to myself, yeah, disbanding the FBI, I think that's a bit too far. I don't feel like that anymore. Okay, I don't feel like that anymore. I think the FBI has not only lost its way, that's an understatement, but it's outlived its purpose. Just my opinion from outside looking in. But have you noticed that they have an office with the Democrats? They have a secure working environment with these attorneys who are out there to try and destroy Republicans and to run cover for the Democrats. Isn't it funny how there's none of this in the Republican camp? Isn't it one of those amazing coincidences that seem to happen only in one direction? Always in one direction. Fantastic, magical coincidences, yeah?
Why would Christopher Wray allow it to continue? Then you also have to ask yourself, why within the last 12 months was the person on behalf of Perkins Coie operating that work site Michael Sussman himself? And we heard through this trial that you just referenced that the FBI believed Michael Sussman was lying to them in 2017 when he was shuttling false information about Trump into the intelligence process. And now we learned for 4 years after that lie, Michael Sussman was in fact operating this secure work environment. So what reason would there be for that, and what leverage would the Perkins law firm have over the FBI given this work they're doing together?
So I know that this story, to the extent they can, will be ignored by the media. And to the extent they can't ignore it, they'll say, well, this is just normal. There are good reasons for this. You're an attorney. You serve with a lot of other attorneys. This is not normal, correct?
I have spoken to former federal prosecutors on the Judiciary Committee and throughout the country, and I have not heard any describe a relationship like this with...
You don't need to be a lawyer, solicitor, legal expert to know that there's something suspicious going on with that. The FBI has a security agency, whether it's the DEA, the ATF, FBI, you name it, right? It's like here in the United Kingdom, we have the not CIA, sorry. We have our own intelligence organisations. Imagine if they had a permanent safe working environment in the Labour Party headquarters, for example, or a lawyer's office that is connected to the Labour Party, yeah? It would just be so bizarre. I mean, why? Why are they there? You can't not see there is something strange afoot. The corruption is endemic at this point. And in my opinion, it's just my opinion, but that's obvious to me anyway, and I should imagine to you too.
A private law firm, and especially because Michael Sussman was an election lawyer. Why in the world would an election lawyer be operating this facility in this way? And our concern is that
it all makes sense, doesn't it? It does, doesn't it? And you know what I'm talking about. 2020, wink wink.
Politically motivated dirt was being converted into politically motivated investigations. That's why Jim Jordan and I are making demands for answers on Christopher Wray immediately, and it's my hope, certainly, that we shut this facility down. The Democrats...
Yeah, it's your hope, and if you do that, that's great. But let me tell you something. If this election, the local elections, or what we call the local elections here in November, if it is as free and honest as we all hope it is, the type of elections it once was some time ago, then the Reds, the Republicans, should sweep the House. They should, and I mean that figuratively as well as literally. Yeah, they should just take it all, right? And if that happens, you need to have the guts to go after the Democrats in the same manner as they're going after you. The conservative, the rhino kind of lose with grace era, it has to come to an end, because the Democrats will continue doing what they're doing to you because they fear you. And do you know why they fear you? Because you're poking around in their money laundering operations, you're poking around in their corruption, you're asking questions that the Democrats don't really want answered. Okay, so you need to pursue them with the same gusto that they pursue you with.
The Democratic Party shouldn't have this special access, special portal to the FBI, especially knowing what we do now, that they were often trying to take this opposition research and then use that for law enforcement and counterintelligence purposes.
Yeah, you can't politicize the country's biggest law enforcement agency. I mean, that's completely third world, and you've borne the...
It is third world, that's right, and that's the direction the West seems to be heading in more ways than one. It seems to, I mean, without going in on a tangent about, you know, like multiculturalism and all this other stuff, if you throw that or this into the bag of all of that other stuff, you can see that we are heading as a society, Western society, Western civilization. We've completely forgotten who we are, and you can see that we are heading in that direction, in the third world direction, in more ways than one, as I say. But that's the clip. It just goes to show you how endemic it is, right? I've got one more clip for you which will show you how interconnected everyone is. Okay, so let's go on to that clip now. Okay, and finally we have the second clip. It's a 5-minute segment. I won't play it all. It's on. You can see it's on Fox News, but there is one bit I want to show and one bit I want to respond to, and it is about, as I said, how interconnected this DC swamp is. Right, unbelievable.
You know, the judge, Christopher Cooper, at one point was considering recusing himself. Ended up he didn't, because his wife, who was an attorney, at one point had represented Lisa Page, the famous duo of Strzok and Page.
So he didn't recuse himself because, yeah. So it's not a stretch of the imagination at all to see that there is talking going on. You know, oh, you know, don't, because you're someone we can trust. Don't recuse yourself. Here's a brown envelope.
Yeah, and that was a lot of the optics here that concerned people. I think that Durham understood that he was in fairly adverse settings for this trial. But, you know, look, people of good faith could question elements like materiality on this type of charge. But there is this striking contrast between how this trial was handled and prior trials under the Mueller investigation. One thing that came out of this that I did raise recently is the importance that John Durham produce a report. You know, many Democrats came out and insisted that Mueller be allowed to not only produce a report, but release it unredacted. It's very important for John Durham to do the same thing, because the limitations on this trial really did indicate that there's a mountain of evidence that Durham may not have revealed, and that this could be an iceberg where we've only seen a small percentage of what he's been able to find.
So let's just rewind a little bit earlier today. Here's what Michael Sussman said after the verdict was rendered. Listen here.
I have a few thoughts to share now that the trial has ended.
If you want to watch that, you can. It's on Fox News' channel. I'm not going to show you it, only because when liars start to speak, I just switch off immediately. I really do. It's just, by all means, go and watch it. I'm not trying to hide it from you, but if you want to be lied to, you need to go somewhere else.
There's an issue here. It's whether or not what he said to the FBI, truthful or not, was material to the case, or whether it was just simply a lie. I mean, it looks like the jury decided that it wasn't material to the case, as opposed to you lied to the FBI.
Well, I would be surprised, even with a favorable jury, that they concluded that Michael Sussman told the truth. You know, the text that he sent was in fact false, according to Durham and according to the view of many people.
The jury were never going to find him guilty. 3 of them are Clinton donors. One of them's an AOC donor.
He said, I'm not representing anyone. I'm just basically a citizen coming forth with important information. And by the way, that information itself was completely unsupportable. I mean, it was really almost a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory that there was a secret line of communication running through a bank between the Trump campaign and the Kremlin.
That is ridiculous. But what's even more ridiculous is there's people who believed it. Democrat vote. See, this is the thing, that they have lost the optics war, and they know they have, right? But the reason why they do what they do is because they know there's Democrat voters out there who are stupid enough to believe it and stay on the plantation. And as so long as they believe it, they'll keep lying. That's the essence of the Democrat / leftist modus operandi. So long as there's enough people out there to believe it, that's all that matters. The people that can keep them in power, that's all that matters to them.
And, you know, he pushed that into the FBI, just like the Clinton campaign pushed the Steele dossier into the FBI. But
so you see a recurring theme here. This is why I added this clip to the video that I'm making. FBI, 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 FBI. You notice this recurring theme? Democrats, FBI. FBI, Democrats. You notice they have this weird connection with each other constantly, right? Just a thought, isn't it? Just a thought. Anyway, look, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments section below. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.